that I paid $9,000 for at Hot Topic. I'm
What?
pretty sure they don't do that.
I'm pretty sure they're not a funeral home.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't carry coffins and
Unless it's like a fox coffin actually made out of cardboard. And
a,
then you put silk sheets in it for
a
some
faux
reason.
coffin. A faux coffin. Not like fox the animal, but like faux, like FAUX, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't even think that they do that.
No, not that I know of, but I've only been in that store once.
Yeah.
But just so we can straighten this out, that's usually how I pronounce it, because I've heard it both
Okay,
ways.
it's pronounced faux. It means false in French.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. And that's
Which is why I said a fox coffin,
right.
not a coffin about foxes.
Right, not an animal coffin, but a faux coffin. Yeah. Because people will think that we mean foxes. We don't mean foxes. We love foxes.
No, no, not that kind of
Yeah,
fox.
foxes are cute.
Remember, my French is pretty bad, so I just
It's all
guess.
right.
Like I was telling you about Les Bijoux,
Yeah, les bijoux.
and I was calling it Les Bijoux
Yeah,
because I didn't know.
it's all right. I mean, and there's no way to learn unless you find out. It's just like when someone I knew in school, and they didn't tell us this. They didn't. You would really have had to been listening and listening very carefully to like a lot of news and educational programs because they just didn't tell us. And they were talking in her history class, and she had to read out of the book, and it was about some sort of situation in the Middle East and about certain sects of religions, and they were talking about the Shiites. Well, the way it's spelled, she didn't know, and she said it was the Shiites, and and everybody was laughing, and like the teacher got really mad, and she was like, "I don't know. I mean, you don't know. They don't teach us this shit."
That's like when I first saw island spelt, and I didn't know what that was, so I said Island, and I kept reading it for like a page and a half as Island, and the teacher's like, island. And I'm like, island? She's like, yeah, that's island. And I sat there, I'm like, well, you've been listening to me for about a minute. Why are you correcting me now when you should have corrected me the first time? I didn't know what the word was, and I paused and
Yeah,
waited. And then she didn't say anything, so I kept saying Island.
yeah. It really is, and it's so weird because English is such a hodgepodge of various other languages, and also it has evolved in so many weird ways and incorporated so many odd things. Like you look at knife and you think, what the fuck is this word? Or like the word enough. Like I even couldn't read the name Agnes because I had seen so many things like knife and enough and things like that that I thought it was pronounced Ains because because like there were so many other words I had learned that was just like okay the G in and but it was awful because like when you're learning this it's just and so much of the time nobody really knows very well how to teach it, so they just kind of let you sink or swim, and throughout your life you're just constantly looking around thinking how badly am I butchering the pronunciation of these things.
And even then, if you're stuck in English class, you always have they always make those corrections where you're supposed to look it up in a grammar book
Yeah,
and learn that way. And I'm just like, I don't know.
yeah.
I wrote down stuff what I thought was right, and I've never understood these rules. Explain it to me in a way that I can understand, because this makes no fucking sense. Like, 5A C. No, sometimes they wouldn't even do that for you. Sometimes they'd make you pick which one of those you broke of a whatever grammar it was. And I'm like,
Grief, that's ridiculous.
I don't know. This was my junior year, I
Yeah,
think. And I'm
that's
just like, I
just
don't know. I just wrote stuff because I had to turn in a paper.
yeah, that's not helpful to your education. That's not actually making you learn, and that's the big problem I have with a lot of the education systems, not only here, but in a lot of the world, in fact. It's just like you don't really learn shit. You learn to recognize what teachers want to hear from you
Yeah.
and regurgitate it in a way that they want to hear. And you don't actually learn anything, and that's the really bad part about it, because if they were giving you the tools to learn shit, people would generally be a lot more able to learn shit and to actually be able to do shit. But as a result, we don't learn a lot. And most of what I learned was shit that I learned on my own because nobody else was going to teach me. And there was some shit and stuff today that I don't know how to do or I'm really bad at because like nobody really taught me. All I was doing was regurgitating shit in a way that I thought people wanted me to do because that was how you got A's, you know? That
Yeah.
was how you got better grades. You just basically bounced it back in a way that you thought, well, this teacher wants to see this, so that's what I need to do. I don't actually need to internalize it or remember it beyond this test or this paper or whatever, you know?
Really, I don't remember learning much about grammar or anything until I was in high school.
Yeah.
And then that was because of being stuck in basically, I don't know if they still call it resource or not, but it was like a special ed class.
Uh-huh.
Because, like I said, I'm possibly dyslexic. I don't know, apparently Tennessee doesn't recognize dyslexia as a learning disability, which I didn't know that at the time. But, spelling and grammar and things have always been hard for me, but I always enjoyed reading and writing.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many problems with the way that the educational system is, and especially with all this bullshit that this politician or that politician, well, I don't want this to be considered this, or I just refuse to believe that blah, blah, blah. Well, why don't you go fuck yourself? Because there are people actually suffering out there, like you and me, who went through school and basically had to teach ourselves everything we knew, and nobody was there for us most of the time. Like nobody was there for me. There was an occasional teacher, an occasional advisor, or something like that who gave a shit for 5 minutes, you know. But for the most part, it was sink or swim.
Well, I actually couldn't really read until I was like in the 4th grade.
Yeah.
I legitimately was illiterate until about the 4th grade, and then I only really started to grow my spelling vocabulary when I got in 5th grade because I switched schools, and I was placed again in resource, and that actually helped me.
Yeah, I think when it's actually like a special focus course, you often get a different and usually better perspective because the people that are doing it are not going in with this attitude like it's almost like an entitled attitude that so many of these instructors have, like they can just demand whatever and they don't really have to give. You know, it's not really give and take, it's just take. You know, the students are expected to regurgitate in their specific way to their specific expectations, but God forbid they actually give them something to work with. Like I had this bitch in, I think it was 8th grade. I want to say it was 8th grade. Oh my God. She was horrible. She was a monster. She basically used her cleverer students and more able students to build herself up. And like, she was so awful to me. She was a sadist. She was cruel. She was using me, like she used me at one point to, she wanted me to win the spelling bee because I was good at spelling, and I had won like this huge spelling bee a few years before, but she was putting all kinds of pressure on me, and she was just like being really, really awful, and like I threw the bee. I was done. It was so much stress on me, and I was just like I don't want to do this. So I purposely misspelled to get out of it because I didn't want to do it, and. But you know, I even wrote a poem once, and we were supposed to do something daring and different. You know, supposed to kind of buck the rules a bit. And I did something that was very simple. I was like, in the future, I past tense, and in the past, I will future tense. And it was a very simple juxtaposition. It was just something that I was wanting to kind of push the rules, which was the exact definition of the assignment. And she graded it a horribly low mark and was like explaining this to me like I was stupid or something. And I was like, look, I did this on purpose. This was the purpose of the fucking assignment. What is wrong with you? Like and she was an asshole. And like I ended up being like, yeah, I'm going to see my advisor. So yeah, bye. So so I left and went to see one of the guidance counselors, and I was like, look, this bitch is horrible. And they agreed. Like, what the hell? What the hell is up with this shit? What? And that was just like one of the mildest situations that I had going through education. It's ridiculous. It is just ridiculous, these experiences that students have. And especially people that, really want to learn. Like I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn new things. And now I hate school and classes and everything else. It doesn't instill a love of learning in you. It instills a dread of it.
Yeah, I hated school. I hated school mostly because of the people, really. Like, I didn't want to go, and I even almost dropped out of high school. I was almost done with my junior year.
Yeah.
And I was this close to just saying, fuck it, and I'm just going to get the GED.
Yeah, I personally had thought about it a few times myself because it was ridiculous. And we moved around so many times. I had so many different experiences with so many different places, and they were all shit in their own way. Like there would be some, this good thing about this one, or this good thing about this one, and then there would be 100 negatives. There would be 100 bad things about every one of them. They've gotten stuck in this way of thinking that would always make things 10 times worse than they needed to be, if not 100 times worse. We totally got off on a huge tangent.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, should I leave this in or should I make it a talk time?